If you have any ideas for future how to get better at origami videos, then make sure to leave them in the comments. This is How to Get Better at Origami episode 7. So the idea for this video is to talk about the value of patience and how fast in general should you be folding. The idea for this video was given to me by my friends. So they basically said that I asked on Instagram what ideas should I do for videos like this and how to get better. And the first one Joey said was the value of patience and speed is less important than quality. So I'm going to link both of their channels in the description. They are fantastic folders, and Joe is an amazing designer and has almost 9,000 followers on Instagram, so make sure to support him as well. I will be talking about The Cactus by Robert Lang. I'm going to use this as an example, and if you're curious, this is from a 9 to 8 centimeter square. This is the general size it gets you, so make sure you at least use 90 centimeters minimum. I would recommend if you plan to make it. So what I have here is basically, before this video I went through all my pictures on this model. I noted down the times that I took them and basically made a time frame for this entire model, and we're just going to talk about like why it took so long to do certain parts, or the time it took to make them, for example. So you know the top part, right? Don't need to see that. So here like this. So maybe hard to see or not, but the paper was cut on the 21st of December 2019 at 11 o'clock. I don't know why I wrote the exact time, doesn't make any sense. So I started pre-creasing the next day on the 22nd, and from starting to pre-crease to have it fully pre-creased and the pot attached took me 17 days to fully pre-crease the entire crease pattern and then decide what paper to use for the pot and then to stick that on. So it's important that when you do things like this you really take your time, because you don't want to rush the model, and when you take your time, you know that when you take your time, what that does for you is you're not under pressure, you're not in a rush to make this, so you can take as long as you need. Make sure everything is as precise as possible. You can, once you do that, make sure you've not missed anything. So it's important to take your time in general, overall, because it's so much more important than going super fast. When you go super fast, you'll make mistakes, you'll make errors, you won't collapse as smoothly or as neatly, or you'll rush things or miss things out. So taking your time is super important and vital. Now, yeah, so it took 17 days, and that's for most models. If you ask yourself, do I want to make this model? Do I want to make this model as best as possible? Do I want to make this model as best as possible in a way that I'll never need to do it again? Do it absolutely perfectly on the first time? And if the answer is yes, then you really should. Personally, this is what I do. I really take my time with all the models I make, so that way I get it perfect first time. I don't have to do it again. Even if there is things that I would like to change, then I don't need to do the whole model again, because those minor changes aren't worth all that effort. So it's important to think like that. For me it is, at least. Okay, so from having it fully pre-creased and the pot attached to fully collapsing and the spines formed took me 8 days to do that. So 8 full days to collapse this cactus. And the reason I took 8 days is because there's a few things for me when I'm folding. I don't fold when I'm hungry, I don't fold when I'm tired, I don't fold when I don't feel like it. So even though this is a very repetitive model, and collapsing and pre-creasing is very repetitive, so it's trying to think of how much should I fold a day or at a time. Like if I sit down and fold, how much should I fold until I stop, until I get tired, and then take a break and then come back to it, because that's what I did with this. I basically, mostly with pre-creasing, because it took forever to pre-crease this, and I did so much for the molecules, and then my back got sore, and then I got slightly tired, so I stopped, left it a few hours, came back later, and then continued. That's why it took 17 days to fully pre-crease it. And for the collapsing, it was easier because I had all the creases I needed. Because I took my time to fully pre-crease this, I knew I had every single crease. First of all, every single crease. Second of all, every single crease was correctly orientated. So I went back through and changed all the mountain folds to strong mountain folds on the colour side, and flipped it over, and then made all the valley folds strong valley folds on the white side. So that way everything was already collapsed and good to go for that part, which made collapsing a lot easier. Once I fully collapsed it, I left it 3 days until I started to shape it. I think I was a bit unsure how to shape, so that's why I believe I did the tutorial around this point. I'm not exactly sure when I uploaded it, but maybe it was this point, just to familiarise myself with the shaping. And then I started to shape. So started shaping spikes on the 16th, and then finished shaping the spikes on the 19th. So it took me 4 days to fully shape everything near enough. And what's important is with patience in this model is you're shaping the exact same thing over and over and over and over again, constantly. So we have 10 rows of spines, a 10 by 9 row of spines, and then each one of those contains 4, and in total there are 360 spines or spikes on this cactus. There's about 360 in total, and because I did it in 4 days, I averaged about 90 spines a day. So about a quarter of the model I did a day on shaping them, and that came down to, again, how I felt when shaping, because I knew this would take forever. And funny enough, when I messaged a few friends that I was making this, they were like, oh, you should fold other things as well just to make it easier to get by. I could have, but the reason I didn't, because if I were to fold other models while taking a break from this, then that means I would just delay the initial finishing date even longer. So I finished this on the 9th. I started shaping on the 16th, I finished on the 19th. That could have been the 29th if I were to make other models while folding this. I didn't want to do that because I knew that I would have to spend a lot more time on this model, basically doing the same things over and over again. I knew how much I could do in a day, I knew how much my body could do in one sitting before I had to stop and take a break. So I used that to my advantage and basically planned it out and did it in a really good time, especially for me, with how much I got to fold. So that is basically super important, that you don't rush, take your time, make sure everything is perfect. And this applies to all models. Just think if you were to make an insect and then you've got all these creases to make. Take your time making the grid. If you make the full grid, perfectly fine. If you make the full grid but not on parts that get seen, like the top of a body, so you'd want to plan it out so you don't make any creases over that part of the body. And then you reverse the creases, so make them all strong on the colour side, mountain folds, and then on the white side make all the valley folds strong mountain folds. So when you come to collapse, it will be so much easier. I highly recommend that you try that for a model at some point. Reverse all the creases, it's so much easier, and what makes it easier is because when you have all these creases coming together and you've got to a point where the paper is all 3D and puffed out and this and that, you can effortlessly put it all together because all these intricate creases are already correct. So it's just a matter of putting them in the rough position and then slowly bring it all together, and it will make it so much easier. It is night and day for those that have not tried that before. Yep, that is basically it. I didn't really write that because I finished it on the same day I finished shaping the spikes. So I hope this video gave you a better understanding of why it's important to really take your time when you fold. Even if you are a fast folder, try this. You'll slow down, you'll see much more doors will open in terms of pre-creasing and collapsing, and especially shaping. So I hope this video helped you. If it did, thank you so much. If you've got any other ideas for videos like this, leave them in the comments, and if they're good enough, I will make a video on it.